Alright, so I'm responding to a video that is going to be linked in the description. So Mr. Cosmodore, the person who made the video, seemed to imply that the only good thing about The Good Dinosaur was its stunning animation, which it had, but it's also a massively unappreciated movie, in my opinion. He didn't say it was massively unappreciated. I am. Anyways, The Good Dinosaur did not ruin the reputation of Pixar. But rather people simply just did not realize what was actually happening um, in the movie, and people don't always have a way to relate to this story. Um, I find that I often hold myself to a high standard, always try to get my mark, as Arlo's father puts it. But as we all know, not everyone struggles with what it means to be included in your own family. Not every family has a rite of passage or even a way to determine who's better, often playing it off as, I love you all equally. And though that may be true in my own family, it is not a matter of what the family expects from the child, but what the child thinks is expected of them. Many of Pixar's films, as Cosmodore put it, um, are meant to be enjoyed by all ages and throughout the ages. And this one is really no exception. Arlo is a child who feels both literally and metaphorically separated from his family in one regard or another, literally being swept away by a flood, and metaphorically feeling like he'll never amount to anything because despite how hard he feels he tries, he always messes something up. And I'm just gonna do a quick rant on the side characters. Is like, the point of the side characters in this story um, is like they all come in groups. If you even noticed, I'm sure you did. And each of them represents another type of family and provide just a bit of comedy. The Triceratops lives with a bunch of pet animals and is essentially a crazy cat lady, if I'm being honest. But it is a way of showing accepting yourself, which is an issue that I find myself and Arlo facing on a daily basis. I don't know if you guys can hear what's going on outside, but I imagine you can because I can hear it. Um, yeah, you probably can. Okay, I'm not editing any of this because I don't know. I feel like Disney Pixar is more likely to slap a monetary restriction, but I don't want to even risk that because I don't want the video taken down. Anyways, the T-Rex family, for example, shows a family that, similar to Arlo's own family, is reliant on one another as they go about their lives. But unlike Arlo's family, their whole family, the T-Rex family, is not tied to a place, to a people, which seems to connect to something that everybody knows. Home is where the heart is, and heart is with your family. And the velociraptors and pterodactyls show another type of family, although I'm not entirely sure what their point is other than to generate more conflict and, if I'm being honest, maybe show the effect of poverty on people. I don't know. The side characters are there for one purpose, really. All of them, even the weird ones, to have a driving force to help guide Arlo back to his family, both in a physical and a metaphorical sense. So really the story follows what it's like to be alienated from your family and the journey it takes to get back home, only to find that they really did just care about you getting home. And so this story really struck a chord with me. Hard, in fact. And to this day I tell everybody The Good Dinosaur is my favorite Pixar movie in existence, and everyone I talk to just seems to go, what's that movie? And for a little bit of context, no one saw this movie because Inside Out had already come out that year, and most people don't expect to see two Pixar movies in 1 year, and the other franchise, and multiple other franchises actually, were releasing highly anticipated films, such as the new Star Wars films. They just kind of dwarfed The Good Dinosaur in terms of popularity, um, as Cosmodore pointed out. Um, And then for some family context to help you understand why this movie struck a chord with specifically me. My eldest brother was in college at the time and was living independently, pretty successfully at that too. and was clearly accomplished with all of his music awards in high school, and during college he made friends and was essentially a social butterfly. So he has those accomplishments. My other older brother was in his senior year of high school, getting ready to graduate, and although he was not as much of a social butterfly, he was still incredibly smart, taking a lot of high level courses, as I ended up going on to do as well. And he received a lot of recognition from his peers and his teammates and our family as he played lacrosse, and he was overall really physically talented despite all of his joint issues. And my parents were my parents. My dad constantly traveled at the time, and I never felt a strong connection to him until a few years later. And my mom and I were not always on the best terms, and we had very different interests. And she sided with my dad when it came to what I should be doing, aka not playing video games and watching anime. Um, and I'm sure you're starting to see some connections here if you've seen The Good Dinosaur. A distant father, accomplished siblings, and a mother that claims to love all. Oh, can't see my hand. And a mother that claims to love all equally, and tries her best to show it, than the youngest. My family structure at the time of seeing this movie mirrored Arlo's almost perfectly. Because, like Arlo, I did not have athleticism or musical talent, or more accurately, I didn't have anything to show for it at the time. I did not have a mark. I was just the good kid, because I saw both of my brothers go against my parents and at times, and I hated seeing that. So I ended up trapping myself to a point where I saw the only way for me to get any recognition in the family was to do something else to make them proud of me. I ended up succeeding in all my high school years. I was a sophomore when the movie came out, with only a B in my freshman year. But that's just the thing. Getting all A's and that one B was not really an accomplishment. It would have been my brothers, because they kind of lacked diligence. Or rather, it didn't feel like an accomplishment, but just expected of me. And I wanted the approval of my dad so much. I wanted to feel recognized as a member of the family. But even though I never felt able to leave my mark, no matter how hard I tried. So you know what? Yeah, I related to Arlo a lot. And I get that not everybody can. Not everybody lives in a constant state of low self-esteem, assuming that they'll never amount to anything, always living in the shadow of their elder siblings. And my one thing was that I persisted, as Arlo had, to get back to my family in one way or the other, finding a way to leave my mark. But the thing is, I know I'm not alone when I come into this situation. At one point or another, I know that I'm not the only one who has felt that same way, and with rising rates of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem, I feel like this movie is going to actually become timeless, because it's probably only going to become more relatable to generations in the future. This movie was not made for everyone, but this movie was made for those who struggle to find their way home. Thank you for watching.